Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Joran Oppelt. Excited to be live streaming on a Friday afternoon. Figured I would jump on here and talk a little bit about the Grove's strategic visioning process. I am leading a workshop coming up in a few weeks. And if you stay on to the very end, I will have a discount for those who are interested in attending, because I would love to see you there. A lot of people are certified in the Groves methodologies, whether it's the challenges of change or team performance or our principles of graphic facilitation or our strategic visioning. A lot of people have come to the Grove for a deeper dive into visual practice. And strategic visioning is no different. So excited to offer this one. This will be the third time that I've led it, and I'm excited. It kicks off in a few weeks. So a little bit about myself. Like I mentioned, I'm the senior consultant at the Grove Consultants International, and before that, I had my own consulting firm, Illustrious Consulting, for a few years before beginning with the Grove in May of last year. Before that, I spent probably about 7 years at in an innovation consultancy in Florida. And before that, I had a long career in marketing and media, and really have been enjoying working at the Grove this year. In-person work is back, and so I've been traveling a lot, visiting clients, and whether it's strategic planning or team performance or any other culture work or strategy work or change work that organizations need, that's what takes us as visual consultants kind of where the wind blows. And I've been all over this last year. It's been good to be home for the holidays, and not have to travel through the winter. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, and we've had some snow, which is exciting. And we also had a lot of damage and flooding from Helene. And a lot of sections of the city will not be the same ever again. And a lot of the sections are being rebuilt, and Asheville is in the process of being reborn in a lot of beautiful ways. So I've been in Asheville now for going on 4 years, and I'm just thrilled to be here to see and be a part of its renaissance. There's a lot of tourists coming back to the area to support. I know that during the holidays, we heard from business owners. I heard directly from local business owners that people were saying, I drove here from Tennessee. I drove here just to do our Christmas shopping or our holiday shopping here in Asheville. So that was very encouraging, to feel that love and support from the surrounding region as Asheville is rebuilding. But this is where I call home and have been for the last few years. And yeah, the work I do of consulting is obviously remote and takes me wherever. And I also work virtually using tools like Mural, Zoom, you name it. So I'm streaming today on StreamYard. Excited to be sharing a little bit about one specific methodology that we use at the Grove. And if you are interested at the end of this to learn more and to eventually become certified as a practitioner in this model, then hit me up. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is the Grove's strategic visioning methodology. We call it a visual process for insight and alignment. It's a visual planning system, and I'll walk you through a little bit of the basics. First off, we kind of have to zoom all the way out, and know that no matter where we are as individuals, we kind of always have our head up in the clouds and our feet on the ground. And that's kind of how we're oriented as beings. And that polarity or orientation really informs this idea of the four flows. This comes from Arthur Young's theory of process, and a lot of the Grove methodologies are founded on or layered on top of Arthur Young's theory of process. Encourage you to check that framework out. There's an origins video on the Grove's YouTube channel and on their homepage that is a deep dive into the theory of process. Encourage you to check that out. But the basics here are that at the top of the model, there is a top line, which is freedom, and a bottom line, which is constraint. And that we are always oscillating or vacillating between top line freedoms and bottom line constraints. So this first layer, this first flow of process is all about attentional awareness. It's where we're shining our light or our consciousness. It's where we're pointing that flashlight and choosing to focus as an individual or as a team. And so that's the layer of spirit, the layer of consciousness. It's where we're pointing our attention and where we're focusing. Down, as you move down from, in this, as we move from the top to the bottom, we're moving from kind of the subjective to the objective, right? In Jungian terms, we're moving down into manifesting into the world, creating a shared reality. So as we move from that first flow, which is attention, down into energy, we're moving into the flow of feeling and the flow of the heart and emotions. So this becomes the relational flow. It can be an interpersonal kind of dimension on how beings are interacting. But it really is all about feeling down in the second flow. Moving into the third flow, you're moving a little more into the concrete world, or at least the layer of symbols, right? The layer of information and symbology and language and typography and image and archetype. So the third flow of information is where you see a lot of content and process design, icons and text and graphics and keyboards. And it's also where these filters come online, because this is now the layer of mind. We're bringing our mind online to filter all of the information that's kind of coming at us. So as we're moving from intuition to feeling to thinking, we're now bringing online a lot of information that can help inform our reality. Down in the fourth flow is the layer of operations, and that is that bottom line of constraint. Here's where the rubber meets the road, and this is the layer of infrastructure and tools and also of the body and of sensing. So it's really this physical or empirical layer of things becoming real or being made manifest, operationalizing, systematizing, right? So as you can imagine, as individuals, we're constantly moving back and forth between these four flows, shifting our attention to our energy, focusing on information, filtering information, moving into action and operation, feeling, thinking, sensing, pointing our awareness and intuition either internally or externally. We're always navigating these four flows of process. And as we get into our team performance model, these four flows lay behind that framework as well. And teams do this, navigate these four flows collectively. But it's also the bedrock of the strategic visioning model, which you're about to see. What happened was back in the 80s, the Grove had the team performance model fleshed out, and there were other various strategic planning models out in the marketplace. One of our partners, Rob Eskridge, had his growth management process that he had laid out, which was based on the theory of process. And he proposed to our founder, David Sibbitt here, I think these 5 stages are what every organization goes through in their strategic planning, which synced up and aligned with most strategic planning frameworks at the time. And we start off by describing the relevant environment. We can maybe gather data and insights and conclude something about our situation. We can then, based on the data, commit to a future direction and turn that into the creation of some kind of action plan. And then moving into that implementation of the action plan, integrate that with our operations. And what was missing from this model was the kind of the pre-process, which was the planning and orienting the team, and also kind of at the tail end, like how are we measuring progress and updating and continuing to iterate throughout this planning process. But the benefit of this, the upside, was that in each of these 5 buckets, there were already a robust set of best practices. Context maps, stakeholder maps, spot matrices, game plans, all of these things that could already sync up with these 5 stages. So David Sibbitt came up with layered it onto the 4 flows and also stretched it backward and forward through time. So you've got this past, present, and future kind of axis where you are using graphic templates, and that's how we work visually in the room with a lot of paper on the walls. Or if we're in mural, we're going to be using a lot of canvases or templates in the virtual space as well. But using these graphic templates, left to right chronologically as information theaters, we call it, to combine hindsight as we look past and kind of tell stories and gather insight from where we came. We're turning that into that pivot point where we are combining the hindsight with the foresight as we're looking ahead and visioning where we might go, where we desire to end up, our end desired state. We're coming back to the present to turn that into insight, and we create insight into action. So we're combining hindsight and foresight to create insight into action. A little zooming in on the model will show you the different stages of that process. So the first step is to prepare in the present for the process itself, right? So there's a lot of startup processes and orientation with the teams that we work with. Then we move into up, and you can see where at the top left corner, there's that little light bulb. That's that attentional flow. We're moving up into the level of awareness before moving into exploring and learning, where we're kind of moving then down into the gathering of information and energy as we move into stage 2. And as we do something like orienting activities where we've got like maybe a spot analysis in stage 3, where we're all saying, yes, this is actually what's happening, or a stakeholder map, agreeing on realities, that's all packed into stage 3 down in the operational flow. And then we move up into put our attention from the past into the present. We start to open up to a vision, and this is the hardest part for teams to tackle. We just came from the past. We got it really deep, dug our heels into storytelling and a sense of where we came from. And there's an emotional connection to the past in most times and most teams. And opening yourself up to creating or casting a future vision can be a hard muscle to flex, especially coming off the kind of the dizzying turn as we're moving up from the operational up into the aspirational, right? Up into the level of intuition. So we're doing this kind of stretch, moving from the tactical up into the strategic, and we're also at the same time moving from the past into the future. That's stage 4, opening up to a vision. From there, we can create a strategy on how to build this thing, this image, this ideal image that we're projecting with our mind onto the world, onto the business, onto the org, onto the team. How do we make that thing a reality? So we're creating the strategy and then moving down into the informational and operational as we talk about implementing the change, systematizing the change. So from there, you're coming back to the present, turning that insight into action and actually living that vision. So it's an iterative process, and you might go through these a few times. And you might go through the left loop a few times before you're actually able to open the team up to the vision. That's true as well. So it's all iterative, and we encourage everyone to do it as long as it takes. Repeat it as many times as necessary before you can actually create that strategy. As we move into this, there's at least one best practice. There's a whole set of best practices at each of those stages. The ones when we come into the workshop and train people on how to use this methodology with their team, they come preloaded with at least one best practice per stage. So as part of the workshop, you'll have access to the meeting startup, or as we call it, the ORs, the objective, agenda, rules, and roles. All of these digital templates and leader guides, facilitator guides are included in the workshop. So you get the meeting startup, you get the graphic history, stage 2, you get the context map at stage 3, you get the spot matrix at stage 4, the cover story vision at stage 5, 5 bold steps template at stage 6, and then that graphic game plan, which ties it all together and gives your team that actual roadmap on how you're going to put that strategy, live that strategy out in the world. The next thing you can do from there is create story maps and live the vision. And we can talk about that as well. A little bit about how teams have used this framework is you get in a room and you can have all of your stakeholders enrolled through a discovery process and deciding who kind of your design team will be. And coming up with your strategic vision doesn't happen overnight. It is sometimes a weeks-long or months-long process. And here are some examples of a team creating a graphic game plan in a room and inviting leadership in once they've established what they think the game plan should be, let's say to get from Q1 to Q2, or to get from, FY25 to FY26, then inviting that leadership in to provide feedback on the game plan that team has created. After that, they might go back to that game plan and refine it based on feedback from other business units or from the executive team, but refining that game plan and then eventually turning around and being able to tell that story visually and present that game plan to the group. We talked a little bit about stage 7 and living the vision with story maps. Here's an example of a story map that the Grove has created. And you can see that these kind of more finished looking, what you might call graphic record or strategic story or story map. These are images, posters that can be distributed digitally. We've seen them turned into posters in the hallways. We've seen them mounted a large scale, mounted behind plexiglass in the common areas, or turned into something like coffee mugs or, mouse pads, things like that, like ways to keep these things visible and present throughout the team's environment to keep them focused on their strategic vision. Some of the groups that have used the strategic visioning process are listed here. Deloitte, Apple, Adobe, Nike, the DLR group, just as a sample of organizations who have used the Grove's strategic visioning process. If you're interested in learning more about this, I encourage you to reach out to me directly. You can just DM me. I'd love to have you in the room for this workshop. It's 4 days. It's 4 5-hour sessions. There's absolutely no prerequisite. You don't have to have studied team performance or any other Grove methodology. You don't have to have an understanding of graphic facilitation to be able to attend this workshop. It's happening on February 24th, 25th, and March 3rd and 4th. I believe those are Mondays and Tuesdays, and there's 4 of them. So my time, 11:30 to 4:30 Eastern on each of those days. And the price of the workshop is $2,200. But at this early bird price, which expired, a couple days ago, if you are watching this and interested and connected to me somehow, whether it's LinkedIn or you're seeing this on YouTube or Facebook and you want to be in the room for this, I want you in the room for this. So if you need to be If you want access to that early bird price, just message me directly and I will arrange for that. I know it's the 24th now. So we've got 30 days now to prepare and to get you guys in the room to have not only the familiarity with this model as a way to think strategically as you're skilling up your team. If you need your managers to think more like executives and more like leaders of business units, if you need your team leaders to have an actual concrete tool to actually do strategic planning with their teams, all of those things are satisfied, or some of the outcomes of being exposed to and learning and training with this methodology. So if you're interested in the Groves Strategic Visioning Workshop, please reach out to me or visit that URL at the bottom of the screen, and we can get you in the door. Let's see. I think that's it for the presentation. So I'll remove it. I noticed some of you guys are watching live. Would love to hear some comments in the comments section from those of you who are watching live. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. That was kind of a pre-planned presentation about the workshop. It is definitely an intention of mine to get on here more this year and do more live streams. And I would love to hear from you all some topics or some themes or some subjects you would like to hear about, or if there's a Q&A or a conversation with somebody else that you'd want me to engage with, drop that in the comments too. What kind of live stream video content would you desire to see from me this year? Thank you for tuning in. And like I said, if you've made it to the end of this and you think strategic visioning is for you or your team, just DM me directly and I will get you that discount and we'll get you in the room. I'd rather have you in the room because the team performance one we offer pretty regularly, and the strategic visioning one we only offer a couple times a year. So I'd rather get you in the room than have you waiting or thinking, oh, I'll just hit it next time, and then it doesn't, you have to wait 6 or 8 months again. So let's get you in the room for this if you think it's something you'll benefit from. And if you have questions, reach out. I'd happily get on a call, answer questions directly. And yeah, I am awaiting your comments to hear what you want to hear more about in the future. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.